Ronnie, welcome to B2B Content Strategist.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Oh no, it's really good to have you here, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. So thank you so much for coming on the show. To get started, in a summary, could you tell me a little bit about your role and also a few sentences about what OpenPhone does as well?
Definitely. OpenPhone is it's a business phone that is it's software. So imagine instead of carrying around a second phone or a business going to like AT&T or Verizon, they can just like download an app, sign up, and have their business phone. And the app itself actually is like a little mini CRM. Like you have conversation history, you have you can collaborate. So if you have teams, and it's a really innovative product. And my role as the director of content is to take the content engine that the founder had actually built on her own, an amazing one, and then the team that she started to build, a SEO team, and basically take what they have and turn it up to 11, is probably the best way to say it. And content's role at OpenPhone is primarily the organic growth driver and the sustainable organic growth. So we have paid and we have conversion rate optimization, but it's us that are bringing people into OpenPhone's orbit, taking them through their product awareness journey, and creating the opportunities to raise their awareness about product features that solves their problems.
Mm. And who are you marketing to? So who's that ideal client persona?
So a phone is very horizontal. It's not very vertical. It's actually the first time I've had to do my job in such a way. Like everywhere else I've worked, Udemy, it was L&D HR personas. At Hopin, it was event marketers and event professionals. And at Eventbrite, it was also event people. But this is literally businesses in the United States and Canada. And we're not going after like huge enterprise. We're actually going after small and medium-sized businesses in the United States and Canada. And they range from realtors to dog walking services to legal services to professional services like Athena's executive assistants. It just runs the gamut of a bunch of different personas.
So does that make it more challenging from your role as head of content, planning out all the different campaigns?
I would say it there's a it there's a challenge, but it's also something that before I even accepted the job, I kind of had an idea of how to like get around it, which is to just incorporate the voice of the customer. And it's a muscle that I'm actually currently building for us right now. I would say I started in September of last year. And right after I started was when if I may curse, shit hit the fan in the VC world.
Yeah.
And then the economy, everyone was freaking out. I think people are still like apprehensive, but people were really freaking out for a while. And so I didn't like want to go too crazy and try too much. And I took a slow approach to it. And like, it wasn't until like around like January that I felt comfortable enough to start really putting the pedal to the metal. And so we have an SEO strategy that is taking what worked, but making it even more laser targeted. So we worked with a company called Growth Plays, which is run by my friend John Henry. And what they do is like something that most SEO agencies don't do, which is they actually have provided us with a playbook of SEO opportunities and said, go after this keyword with this type of content, with this type of angle, and you will get this traffic, which will then convert into this amount of trials and so forth. And so we have like this playbook that we can actually go to OpenPhone's board and say, here's what you can expect in the next quarter, which is really awesome. And That is, I would say it has mentions of different ICPs. Like we'll say like if you're a realtor or if this and that, and we'll have some examples we're pulling. But I recently restructured the like team and our workflows so that we're working so far ahead on projects. Like right now, we're working on some projects that won't ship until maybe even August or July
Mm.
or end of July, early August. And that's to give my content producers enough time to then go talk to people, get subject matter experts, get voices of the customer so that we can actually produce a piece of content that might be trying to give you an example here of like how to talk to customers, right? Like a piece that targets that keyword or a key phrase. And we'll do the like audience agnostic piece. But then because we have a lot of quotes from people, we've asked them for tips and tricks. We can actually go and do versions of that that are atomized or repurposed that have are like very specific to that industry. But then also have those examples in that agnostic piece too. And then slowly but surely, as we build more examples and ideas and gather ideas from our audiences, we can start to build like huge listicles and maybe even like template galleries of like SMS templates for real estate. Like we have like a listicle right now for that, but in the future, as we build like a huge repository of them, I can imagine us building into our blog, which is getting redesigned and going to launch at the end of the month. Um, having like a sort of way you look through templates on like Airtable or Notion, like there's like a search field and everything, and you can find the ones you want, and then maybe even allow UGC, like allow people to submit stuff. So
Sounds
that's how I'm
awesome.
tackling that, the audience persona thing for a horizontal product.
Yeah, sounds great. So who are you tackling this with? So what does your team look like in terms of the roles within it and that structure?
If I tell you all, like, hearing all that I said I'm doing, how big do you think my team is?
You want me to guess? 10 strong? 8, 9, 10?
I
I don't
have 1
know.
content marketer
Oh,
and 1 SEO
really?
lead.
Wow.
Yeah, right now I am operating it's because of just how lean companies and startups have to be right now. I have augmented the team with contractors, and I'm actually, immediately after this interview, gonna be talking to someone about potentially joining as a contractor. And so I have an SEO lead, a content marketer who is essentially our like content strategist slash like managing editor. And then we're gonna have two content producers. We have one right now, and their whole job is to get all the material that we need for a piece of content to write the brief, write the outline, and then hand it off to a pool of content writers that are contractors. And we're floating the idea right now and even like in the midst of interviewing slash like testing out some potential contract editors to help us like just streamline things because it's the 3-month outlook of our calendar that we'll always have, but also just want to make sure that my content marketer and myself, like I'm reviewing every piece, but I want to be able to review every piece and have as little feedback as possible. Where right now I probably have like extensive notes on everything.
Yeah, same here, with what I do as well. So with there obviously you said you're working with, different contractors, as you mentioned. Are there specific aspects of the areas of content marketing that you're responsible for that you, um, will always feel that that skill, that expertise, that kind of work we should keep in-house, and then specifically these areas are always, worth outsourcing, or not always, but they're the ones that you would consider to outsource?
The one thing that I easily say outsource is case studies. We don't outsource them here. I'm actually the one doing them, doing the interviews, doing the like prep, and then even writing them right now. Not the ones that exist on the site now. I literally just took over this.
Mhm.
But it's one of the things that I think is easy to take over because the there's a very simple sh- like way to approach them, and it's not that complicated. But the process of doing case studies, of getting people to say yes, getting the interview scheduled, getting the like review and approvals, like it's just it ends up like being a drag on internal resources. And when you outsource that and allow that to augment, yes. Writers, I've always used my entire like unless like I was writing stuff when I was writing stuff myself when I was at IC, I've always used writers, contract writers. And for me, that's because writing great content that is I hesitate to say high quality, but I mean the kind where like each paragraph has a thesis statement and the words like even if it's like 5,000 words and it says on the thing it takes 25 minutes to read, like you read it in 15 minutes because it's just like butter the way like the words come together.
Yeah.
That level of writing requires the space to write it. And from my IC days when I was writing, I struggled to get that caliber of writing out of myself. And it was like a huge source of imposter syndrome. And I eventually started to realize it was because I was in freaking meetings all the time, getting slacked all the time. And for me, I get the best quality writing when I have writers who don't have to worry about what's happening at the company.
Mm.
So that's like the other thing I think about outsourcing. And with that, I don't like there's like I want to say it's like a common like philosophy to keep your product content in-house. And I agree with that to a degree, but if you can train your contract writers to understand the product really well, and like we have like an entire wiki that like they have access to that we constantly update that says here's how you talk about that product. And we recently hired a product marketing lead from Loom that I'm really excited to be working with him. Like when I interviewed him, I hit up my founder and said just give him an offer because he's like mind-blowingly good at his job. That I can say is gonna like make that wiki even better. And so that's the outsourcing philosophy for me is like, if you can outsource it, sure. The one thing that I have struggled to outsource is strategy.
Yeah.
The only agency I've ever worked with is called Message Lab, and we worked with them at Eventbrite, and they really were like helping me do something that I was trying to do on my own. So having that outside expertise allowed me to then build what I was trying to build, which was more uh, product agnostic, completely product agnostic stuff that was more community driven before community was like a buzzword in marketing.
Mm.
Because I wanted to tell stories of the people putting on the events and my vision. There's this document internally at somewhere on Google Drive at Eventbrite talking about a vision for the future. And I said we should create the next Rolling Stone, where Rolling Stone wasn't just about like, oh, here's the artist and the music. It was about the groupies, the fans, the roadies. Like it was just like anything that could, even politics.
Mm.
And so I had this vision for doing that at Eventbrite. That Message Lab had a similar idea, and we worked really well together on that. But other times I've tried to work with like really amazing like agencies, like Foundation Inc. Is one of them. I know you had Ross on here, and I just was like, he's a genius, but I'm also already like thought of that, and I'm going to do that, and it was just this thing where I was like, I guess I don't need an agency for strategy because it's if there's anything that I have like I'm good at, it's that.
Yeah. If there's anything that I'd say, through running the second season of this podcast, as we've discussed this topic of in-source, outsource, I say one of the main areas that people have said you do tend to retain in-house is the strategy side of things. And as you said, outsourcing more along the lines of writing. And also some of the marketing teams talk about outsourcing SEO and paid social, of course, as well, and things like that. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I definitely outsourced the SEO strategy. We have my SEO lead is probably like, I mean, I'm biased, but I feel like he's like in the up there. He just isn't. as active on social as most of the people who are known for SEO. And he's why we are already successful as a content team before I started. But we augmented it because he had a lot of the technical skills and everything else, and I just wanted to like almost amplify his skills with growth plays, and it's been a really great partnership there.
Yeah, sounds like you've surrounded yourself and come in surrounded by some really awesome people, which is fantastic. In terms of your overarching content strategy, so, obviously you've mentioned lots of different content that you work on, and the blog that you have is got lots of content on it. I've seen on LinkedIn lots of upbeat content on LinkedIn. You're on TikTok, you've got YouTube content. What's the focus? So I guess like what are your current priorities in your with your content strategy?
Right now, my number one priority is, um, how do I say this? Is I'm trying to make sure it doesn't sound like, oh, high quality content, because it's like such a weird phrase. And I agree with a lot of the backlash to it. But we have entered an age with AI, but really machine learning, Chat GPT, Jasper, all these tools that are like exasperating a trend that's been going on since 2018 of copycat content and sameness and this like gray goo of content. I've even had a friend who knows what I do, but is so far removed from it that I was surprised they understood it, who said, you know, content marketers like you are ruining Google. And I was like, what do you mean? They said, I tried to Google something the other day and like I really just could not find the answer I was looking for because everything I searched for was so like, was just basic information that I already knew. And no attempt to like amend or change the query helped him find the like more advanced information. And I think like there's this sort of reckoning right now that I am hoping to position OpenPhone to avoid, which is the comfort content has to have a significant information gain. And like I gave the example of how to talk to customers. I'm actually the one who I'm pulling up my sleeves and doing this piece from soup to nuts to show my team what I mean. And it's a thing I don't normally do, which is I wrote the intro before I did anything else. And this intro, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, it literally is written, and I'm probably going to stick with it by the time I publish this, is like, if you've found this piece of content after searching for how to talk to customers on your favorite web engine and are frustrated with the results, you've come to the right place. And it says that, most of the content has basic and almost useless information like make eye contact, blah, blah, blah. And I even say like, no shit, Sherlock with it bleeped out and say, it's not that that information is not, useless at all. It's rooted in something real. It's just missing the like nuance of what people like you, the reader, have actually experienced as real life tangible examples that make it more concrete because in B2B SaaS, the like education style content needs to have like if it's not a tutorial, like straightforward tutorial, like this is going to be more strategic. It's got to have conceptual, strategic, and then tactical layers. And a lot of content doesn't have like that tactical layer. They'll tell you to go do something, but then they won't tell you how to do it. They like, yeah, you'll figure it out. And so right now I am putting all of my energy into steering the content ship at OpenPhone to that higher like bar of value, I'll say, instead of quality. Like, and part of it is also like not just the information gain, but the experience. So a lot of content marketers who come from journalism have this background that helps them think in terms of like the lead and then the story And I come from film broadcasting, and it's a time sensitive medium. Like when you go to watch a program on TV or you go to watch a movie, you look at the runtime. You're like, all right, you want to know, can I fit this in my day? And when everybody is a content creator, not just businesses, but, you know, teenagers next door, like the the search and opportunity cost of consuming content is so high, you have to respect that. And so part of what I'm instilling in everyone is like, all right, think about the consumption experience holistically. I read this intro. Did it captivate me enough to keep going? Great. All right. Now how does it flow? How does this piece of content, you know, where are the like aha moments throughout the piece of content? How many are there? How many times did we make them laugh? Like, like put some pop culture references in there so that they feel like we actually know them. And it's something that I think that AI, unless like you're painstakingly telling it to do this, can't do it. You can't go write a blog post on how to talk to customers that targets small businesses in the United States and Canada. It's not gonna like come up with like a pop culture reference of 2 characters from a popular TV show who couldn't understand one another, like, that's not gonna happen, like, you need a human and someone to care about and think about where to place that, and so that's the crux of my strategy because, right now, the reason I wanna do that is while we're definitely, like, targeting search like everybody else, I want like, in every one of my briefs, I ask everyone to answer the, one question is, "Why would someone bookmark or share this content?" And that's everything I just described is aimed at answering that question because it made me feel something is why someone bookmarks it. It made me feel empowered, and I wanna make other people feel empowered, so I'm gonna share it. And so I'm looking for people to, who work for me to answer that question in that regard and then deliver it, obvi
And I mean, everything that you just explained there, as you already referenced as well, I don't believe can be achieved by AI. I think, the tools like ChatGPT, and other of those generative AI type tools are, in my opinion, like really terrible at any kind of long form written content. I know you can keep probing and getting prompts better and things like that, but it still seems like a robot, and it's not good. It's good for some things, but not really long form written content. Um, on that, obviously, I think we probably it sounds like we agree on that, but within your team, are there some areas that you are using AI in your content creation workflows or the team workflows or any, kind of opinions on some of the ways that maybe it is helping or can help or you're going to try?
No, so we use Jasper,
Yeah.
and more recently, I have greenlit my team to using ChatGPT Plus.
Okay.
And our AI policy, which is right now more verbal and will be written soon, is similar to ones you've seen elsewhere. Like Wired had a good one that I was like basically gonna like say like that, which is like we will never, ever, 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 ever publish something that was just straight out of an AI, like ever. It'll always have to go through a human editor, a human who writer, and so forth. Now, workflows like they're constantly evolving. So, to back up, I've been using generative AI since around like 2020. I guess you could say I was an early adopter. I started off with Copy AI. Those were actually little small tasks like repurposing content. Uh, and so thinking about like atomizing email, landing page, and promotional copy from like long form content. And then every now and then I would use it to generate like shitty first drafts of a paragraph or something. If I had writer's block, I'll be like, give me the like worst thing so I can then go, oh, I can do better than that. Over the years, it's now like audience research. So like back to how did I like figure out what to do with such a horizontal audience? I used AI to say, all right, if you were doing this, what are some of the pain points? What are the struggles? Like asking it questions. And this is actually before Chat GPT. I was like just seeing what happens if I like asked questions in like a doc and letting it go. Chat GPT made it even easier because I could clarify stuff. But then there's like topic research. So like with Chat GPT plus, like being able to do like read the web and link readers, like I can say, here's this piece of content that's ranking, like it's number one. Read it, tell me what it's missing. Help me understand, like help me figure out and possible angles is another thing. Next, I'd say content ideation. So like uh doing keyword research, but more audience research. So like um, you are like, what is the day to day of this person and what are some of the tasks and jobs that they have to do? So I can then start thinking about not what are people searching for, but what are they doing in their day to day. So I can then tap into those experiences as I we're creating content. And then editorial feedback. So another AI tool that I use is Lex. And I don't know if you've used it. I can give you an invite if not. It's a really cool tool. And Nathan from Every who created it, he has this thing in there where you can actually have it provide feedback on a piece of content. And sometimes like what it'll do is like I'll my editing process is just skim or read the intro, skim the H2s, then go back and read it and then what I'll do now is sometimes I'll throw it into Lex and I'll say, all right, what is Lex pointing at? Or sometimes I'll do my editorial feedback, then I'll do Lex and I'll say, all right, what did I miss? Is there something else like I should be thinking about? So it's just an augmentation more than a crutch is probably how I would say we use it. And I'm sure my team probably has some other nifty ways of doing it. One of my content producers uses it to summarize books and get like the like essence of books out so that she doesn't have to read mainly nonfiction, like some business books and things like that. So she'll get like a breakdown of like the takeaways in a book so she can actually like reference it in a piece of content as though she read it.
That's really clever. I've always had, well, for a while had Blinkist, which obviously is
Same.
a paid for tool. So it sounds like it's being used as a similar tool to Blinkist.
I've been a subscriber to Blinkist for years, and after she showed me that, I'm like, which I mean, Blinkist is awesome. I don't want to like disparage anybody from doing it. In fact, it's probably a better quality product than what I get out of Chat GPT. But those are just some examples. I'm sure there's more I'm not thinking about, but I think I'm just one of those people who was adamant about AI and excited about it. And I've actually convinced people in my network who initially were like, that's the devil to understand it's not. I mean, they use Grammarly. That's essentially the same thing. I mean, now it's actually like an AI tool, which we have, but we haven't used. But yeah, it's that like just a tool. It's like going from a typewriter to a word processor. It's just a piece of technology.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like, a lot of people probably don't realize how long they've been using AI in the different tools that they have, but they just haven't put two and two together and thought it's a machine learning
Predictive
or AI.
text.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
predictive
it's
text
all,
is just the is like well, it was before transformers, but yeah,
yeah, chatbots and things like that. I mean, I agree with you. I see it as an opportunity. Well, we just need to embrace it. Like you said, it's just like moving to the from the typewriter to the computer. Does stagger me sometimes how much trust some people put in the outputs of something like Chat GPT. They'll ask it to do a bit of research and just genuinely believe every single thing that it said, and that there's no further research that needs to be done. And it staggers me that you would just think that, like, you know,
it doesn't surprise me considering like how often have you found a piece of content that references stat and then you click on the link to the stat and it's just another blog post that has another link and then you go down a rabbit hole and you figure out there was never any original source here. Like someone just trusted all these people to make up a stat and reference it. It's actually something that like ChatGPT does pretty like well is that same problem. And it's because it's learned from that content. So it just regurgitates the BS that we've been regurgitating.
Exactly, yeah, and if every person uses the same robot to regurgitate the same BS, then we just get that everywhere, don't we? So it's just it's like the same as, like we were saying at the start, you wouldn't well, hopefully, people would not be using it to just create a long form piece of written content and then just publish it. But if everybody did just use the same robot to create the same piece of content about the same thing, then there's no wonder all the content starts coming out generic and half the time incorrect as well. So yeah, it's a whole other episode. Um, I know that we are coming near to the time that we have for this episode. So I'm just going to jump to asking you a few quick fire questions, if that's okay. So, one takeaway tip that you'd give your younger self starting out in your marketing career.
Trust your gut. Like you're every time that I have been told that like this whole like idea of building a media company is something I'd been saying for years, and I saw the vision of it like early on in content, and all these years I've kind of had kind of ran up against like aversions to it, and every time I felt vindicated as something would validate it and how the industry's progressed. So trust your gut.
Yeah. And you, just talking about the media company, um, I haven't had time to go there in the conversation we've had, but you're an advisor to Audience Plus, right? And a key thing, if I'm correct with their platform, is around helping companies to embrace that media company angle, isn't it? Like a
Yeah,
platform to
it's a
help your
different
company.
approach than what
Mhm.
content and marketers have done in the past. And it's just about like building your audience, your loyal, like, it's like building fandoms, commercial fandoms. A person who actually planted this idea in my head is Zoe Scammon. I can send you a link so you can link it later to her stuff. But yeah, she, um, helped me see that like this idea of fandom like for Marvel and whatever like in Star Wars is actually like slowly becoming a thing in the commercial world. And Audience Plus believes that you can build a platform or have like a property that people gravitate to, a third place, a digital third place that they can then go consume content. And as a company, you don't have to rely on third parties to tell you what they did or like how engaged they are so that you can make more informed decisions about the content that you provide.
Find it really, really useful, and it's great to hear that these things are, are coming to the market. So Audience Plus have been following, what they've been doing in the platform and things like that. I just think it's super exciting, really, really interesting. And quite a few of our clients are doing exactly that in terms of building side platforms that are the sort of media area and the fan area and the community area that's separate to their existing site. It's not just a blog on the site and some content on the website, it's something separate completely. So it's really interesting. Um, but I'll ask one final one. This question is always a fun one. So, if you could create any content for your organization, so any content at all for OpenPhone with unlimited budget, unlimited resources. People have said reality TV shows, billboards in Times Square, primetime TV shows. What would you do?
Uh, Closer to the latter. So I could imagine a comedy series following the misadventures of a small business owner that OpenPhone's small business customers would see a version of themselves in and couldn't help but root for. Uh, think like imagine like Silicon Valley, the HBO show, but small business owners and operators instead of startup founders and venture capitalists. Like I just think that would be fun. Like they would just to see a character going through the things that probably like it would be like a release of their frustrations and all the things that they have to do because I definitely couldn't do it. All the things that they do.
I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Um, and you'd be able to repurpose that all over the platforms.
Oh,
And yeah, I'm already thinking, oh my God, that'd be so good. Absolutely love it. Right. I really appreciated speaking with you and your time and everything. It's been such a good conversation. I know everyone listening is going to have got so much value from this. Um, is there anywhere that you would like people to go? I'll put the links to your LinkedIn, etc. Of
Yeah.
course, the company as well. But any other action or anything you'd like people to?
Not right now. Soon, hopefully, we'll have some more things that in the pipeline. I'm working on a show right now, but don't want to give it too many details on that. And but yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn, just follow me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been an awesome conversation. So thanks, Ronnie.